Heat waves, pool time, air conditioning. Welcome to summer. And that means we're halfway through the year. It's time to check in with Jeremy Hauser on the state of the business as we race through 2023. I'm Patrice Sikora asking the question, Jeremy, where has the time gone? How is the Hauser family and how is the InsureMark family?
Oh, and the Hauser family, we're just peachy. Later this summer, we are actually going to be taking a trip here in July. It'll be my wife and me and Patrick. Olivia, still a little young, so she won't be able to go with us to wherever we decide we're going. But so we're going to have some finally start to do some family vacations on the summer front. So family's good. We got businesses going well. Our industry has done really well this year with all the market uncertainties last year. And so time has flown halfway through the year. And probably what's most exciting for the next half of the year for our advisors is just starting to really run with some of these processes, systems that they've learned here over the last couple of weeks with some of our live events that we've been doing.
Well, let's recap some of those events. Tell me about the 40th. How'd that go?
Yeah, in Shermark, we actually did our 40th year anniversary. It was late June. We ended up doing that. So we had family, friend members come to that one here in Houston. We actually had advisors that ended up being with us for decades, some long-term relationships with Steve and Becky. So got a little emotional for the event. We had a pretty solid video that recapped and talked a little bit about what each employee, what InsureMark has meant to them over the course of InsureMark's existence. So it was pretty cool to see. And obviously, Steve being the founder of InsureMark, I can speak for him. He enjoyed it, him and Becky. So that was good. So the 40th anniversary, it's not many firms out there that can say that they've been in business for 40 years, especially in our industry. So we really have a niche industry. So that's goes to attest to the leadership here. And yeah, so it was all good for the 40th.
Right. You had some guys come in to do some speaking too, right?
We did. So we had a couple of people that not only spoke, but also we had some, like I said, long term. Even although we have competitors in our industry, and although there's insure marks and a lot of our friendly competitors, Steve, who's been kind of an icon in this industry, has developed some really good relationships with some of our friendly competitors. So we actually had some people in that are from competitive or from another competing type of marketing organization. So they shared their stories as well too. So it was all good. It was good fun. And yeah, 40 years. So looking forward to what's to come here. Probably already starting to plan for the 50th for all I know.
It'll be here before you know it. That's for
I
sure.
know.
All
Sure.
right. 6 advisors came together for your elite people.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, we did our inaugural taking the trip event here in Houston. So we just started doing this and the feedback has been amazing. We actually had for our Founders Club members only, they got an opportunity to listen in to the recordings. So they were on a Zoom screen. They got to watch 6 of our top advisors go through A to Z of what's been working for them in their business. These are our top advisors within Founders Club. And they went over 3 main components. So the advisors that were here in Houston, they went over sales. So what they're doing at point of sale, what their conversations they're having, the emotional impact that they're utilizing when talking to new prospects. So software tools, you name it. They talked about their sales process. Number 2 was operations. So they talked about really scalability and how they started to staff up, how many people they would need in the pipeline in order to be able to delegate certain tasks to certain people in their office. So that was an interesting wave. We had these 6 advisors had completely different practices. So some advisors had maybe one person that was part of their staff. We had some that had north of 4 or 5 people. So as a member of the Founders Club, you got to hear from some of these elite advisors and the stepping stones almost of what each advisor, how they continue to grow, and what were the points in their career when they decided that, you know what, instead of me spending my Thursday or Fridays doing X, I'm just going to hire somebody to take over that particular marketing strategy or particular following up on business. So it was pretty cool to see those six. And then, like I said, for those that are in Founders Club, where you can qualify every single year, so you're not left out. Although the six advisors got to be here in Houston, got to build a good camaraderie together, everybody else got to listen in through the Zoom. And then the last piece of it was marketing. So I save it for last here because all advisors want to know, what are the top advisors doing when it comes to getting in front of new prospects? So once again, we had advisors that had a tax practice, advisors that do multiple fiduciarial chain of events, from building assets under management, insurance. We have advisors that are insurance only. So they really talked about marketing in depth of their practice, what niches they do. And some of the advisors that were actually here have been in the business for north of 40 years as well, similar to Steve. So they had a lot to talk about when it came to client appreciation events. So I think that was a huge opportunity for a lot of advisors that are building their practice, how to give back, how to invest in your own customers, how to really build on that relationship experience. So yeah, sales, operations, and marketing were the main three things we talked about. And in SureMark, we try to lead the way when it comes to sharing best practices for other advisors, just learning from successful people instead of being the guinea pig to a marketing experiment.
Sounds like that was a very comprehensive presentation.
It was. We had a lot of training, a lot of time went into it, but really it goes back to the whole process of every single one of these people that spoke. They talked about systems, they talked about processes, and that's really the course of what this podcast talks about, and why we try to have guests on who basically have proven systems and processes to provide to financial professionals. And in fact, it was really good timing, because last month we actually rolled out our Systems Work People Fail 2.0 webinar. So when we tie in the fact that we have top advisors talking about why they're at the top, and they're really highlighting systems and processes, that just goes back to how important the 2.0 launch of the webinar was for our team.
Why is that so timely now?
I would say it's more timely because the original one that we did was back in 2021. We actually came off of the pandemic year. So in 2020, a lot of things were shifting. People were having to adapt to virtual appointments. So fast forward to 2023, and a lot of advisors, and not just advisors, but clients, their consumer behavior has really changed, I would say, over the last 2 years. The amount of information you can get through the web is just through the roof. So really, for the purpose of why we launched Systems Work People Fail 2.0, it's a quick little 20 or 30-minute webinar that I put together for our advisors that outline the 5 resources that advisors that are doing north of $5 million of fixed index annuities, what they're using here at InsureMark. So talk about those resources. And the reason why it's 2.0 is because nothing changed really from the original one 2 years ago. But what's important now is that as time has evolved, customers are definitely, the behavior of them, they want to know that they're dealing with the best expert, because now they're dealing with people that might be in multiple states away. So if their consumers not necessarily just looking for the best advisor in their area, they're going to go out there and try to find the best person for their particular scenario. So even if they live in Texas, they're open to working with somebody from Boston, Massachusetts. It's just the reality of where we're at today in comparison to what it was a couple years ago. And so although there's huge opportunity, but there's also a lot of processes that we outline in that webinar that advisors have to do to really separate themselves to become the authority and the known figure in not just specialist, but the authority on retirement planning, to make sure that if you're trying to build a relationship from that far away from some of these prospects, it's all about trust and credibility. And so you got to have the right processes and tools to build that to be successful, especially in the virtual world, not just in the live world.
So, which advisors would get the most out of this?
I would say that advisors that want to be in the business for longer than 5 to 10 years. I would say if you're a advisor who's looking to really build, be efficient on your time, people who are building, I mean, it's anybody really, people that have families. I can tell you that I talk to advisors every day that are missing birthdays, they're missing I mean, from their loved ones. So their kids, they're not able to go there on the weekend. They have appointments in person with certain people. So they're missing out on that family aspect. So, really, advisors, if you find yourself in a position today where what you've been doing and you've seen the trajectory of your business kind of declining over the last 3 to 4 years, and for whatever reason your team has not put something in place to help you out to really get you out of the trenches and put you back on pace to have a successful practice, and you're looking to do this for longer than 5, 10, 15 years, you really should probably check out the Systems Work People Fail 2.0 webinar, because a lot of those resources may not just resonate with you, but going back to the consumer behavior. So take, for example, not political, but realistically. So, Patrice, I'm sure you've heard of who Tucker Carlson is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tucker Carlson, so just purely on the basis of where the consumer is going nowadays, he was removed from Fox, and he has started to launch his own thing on Twitter. What's interesting is I always look at the numbers and the data. So if you actually look at primetime TV, so when he airs any of these episodes that he does, and they're like 5, 10 minute monologues, he's getting anywhere from 25 million to 50 million people within a daily time frame that are watching his content. So the reason why that's relevant is in comparison to the nightly news, that's probably a fourth. So Fox, MSNBC, or what's the other one? CNN. So the main players out there, they're only getting eyeballs on what the TV is presenting people of maybe a fourth of what social media apps like Twitter and others out there. Consumers are streaming this information. What works in favor of that is the fact that you can share content where now the consumer can receive a lot of information from other individuals, to where even though it wasn't on their timeline beforehand, but now it is. So the reason I bring that up is where we are going today, the fact that we have $84 trillion that's going to be transferred here over the next 22 years. The younger generation, they don't necessarily consume data and information about what's going on in the world like everybody else in the baby boomer generation. So what we talk about a lot in Systems Work People Fail 2.0 is how, as an advisor, you can differentiate yourself to make sure that you are talking to all parties, not just the baby boomers, but you're also talking to Gen X, millennials, and that's by leveraging some technology into your practice and really just running parallels for the time being. And then if need be, you want to make sure that you are having a nice digital footprint in the social media aspect as well, because people are looking into wanting to work with the top of the best professional they can get in front of, the best professional, the authority in financial planning. So they're going to Google you. They want to know, who am I working with? And therefore, you do have to have a strong digital presence. You can't just rely on that customer down the road that you built that relationship with and just be the local hero anymore. So that's what we talked about. And long-winded answer, but it's for a lot of people.
And it sounds like, well, I've got to ask then, if it's for a lot of people, is there anybody that it's not a fit for?
Funny, actually, I have a story of that. So
Hey.
the last 3 years that we did Systems Work People Fail, had yet to have somebody really say that, you know what, this isn't for me, or this is all just malarkey. So we've been moving the right direction. So we're only about a month and a half in of the 2.0. And I did have an advisor who reached out to our team. So they talked about, they saw one of the things we posted on LinkedIn. They wanted to know more about Systems Work People Fail 2.0. He said he watched about 8 minutes into the webinar, and he actually messaged our team saying that this was not a fit for him at all, and that this was just he has so much success already in his business that he just doesn't see himself looking at this particular or these particular processes, implementing them
Really?
as a need. And I said, okay, well, our team members reached out to him, just let him know, hey, that's perfectly fine. But we were just curious, though. You happen to be the first person that the last 3 years that we've talked about these systems that's actually challenging. So, what is it that you are mentioning here that these other advisors are missing? Because we just love to know your feedback.
Okay.
So, fast forward 2 days later. So, gives him a little more time. He watches the 30-minute webinar. He jumps on our calendar. He actually has a call with me. He'll probably listen to this episode. So
Okay.
he ended up, so we had a call together. I had him write down some things, and he actually apologized. And he said, you know what? I was doing multiple things. I wasn't really paying attention. I listened to a couple minutes of it, and I just thought this was all fluff. And you know what? I actually sat down, I delegated 30 minutes. I listened to the webinar, and I can't tell you that I literally am living exactly what you talked about there. I don't have time. I'm training advisors that are not being efficient with what they're doing. I'm spending too much of my time training as opposed to delegating. He spends $900,000 in marketing a year. So just in the last, I think 10 months, he said it was $900,000. He has a couple advisors underneath him in his agency. And so I asked him, so we've talked about this on the episode, the rule of 1%. So I asked him,
Right.
based off of your $900,000 of marketing, then you must be doing at least 90 million as a team of annuity business. And he just laughed and he said, we're not even a third of that. And I said, well, then that might mean that your systems and processes you have right now on the marketing front might not be positioned the most efficient way to where your advisors are being efficient with their time. But most importantly, maybe the marketing you're spending money on, you're not getting the right ROI.
Right.
And
Right.
so we chatted about that. We've already had our second call, so he's looking to move forward. So pretty um, interesting, because as you asked, who is this not a fit
Yeah.
for? I actually came across that, but we overcame that objection. So
And that turns out it was a fit for him, or it is a fit. Could be.
it
Could be
is,
a fit. Let's put it that way. Could be.
could be, as
Compliance
we
compliance doesn't like it when we say is.
yeah, it could be. So we're starting the process now. I had him really write down a lot of things. His team was creating a lot of burnout. He was tired of spending money trying to learn, and that was a key thing I talked to a lot of advisors about. They always say they're learning to do virtual appointments or how to really be more efficient with that. And once again, the 2.0 version, we talk about how advisors are succeeding in a virtual world doing virtual appointments. So these are proven processes. So I think it's a good fit for anybody to just at least check out. And yeah, that webinar has been pretty successful over time, and we'll continue to let advisors see it and see what the results are. And that's what our team can offer. That's a little different than everybody else out there in the in our industry.
All right, but Jeremy, that was the first half of the year. We're getting into the second half of the year. You know,
Yes.
what have you done for me lately? What do you see coming up in the second half, and what advice do you have?
So in the second half of the year, right now, if you do not have a mentor, so if you're an advisor and right now you feel like you have no guidance, no leadership, I wouldn't say necessarily leadership, but you don't feel like you have the right team and really a model that you can put your practice towards, highly recommend you looking for a mentor of some sort. Later this year, we are continuing to grow the market itself. So halfway through the year, still hasn't even recovered what it lost last year.
Mm.
So really the time right now, you have a lot of contracts, you have a lot of accounts that are still underwater. So a lot of advisors are taking advantage of the opportunity with the right message to get customers to really think for themselves on, you know what, there might be a better solution than riding this roller coaster. Let's go ahead and take some of the risk off the table within retirement portfolios. So it comes back to messaging. So if you don't have a mentor, If you currently right now do not have technology that's leveraging your message as opposed to just being a one person trying to get your message out, I highly recommend partnering with groups that have processes and systems in place to do that, because by the end of this year, who knows where the market's going to be. But as we sit today, we still haven't recouped what happened last year, but at least it's a good starting point to getting people back to the realization that the market isn't always in our favor, and possibly, this roller coaster ride might make sense to protect some assets today.
Well, all that having been said, how can advisors reach you? Because I think some ears have definitely been pricked up.
Are they perked up?
Pricked up, whichever.
Yeah, they can reach us at advisormentorship.com. They can reach us there. Check out our LinkedIn page at Jeremy Hauser. Continue to post a lot of information from our podcast on there, sharing best practices. You've probably seen a lot of just pictures lately. So, it's not Facebook, but there's a lot of pictures because we've had a lot of events. But yeah, those are the best two ways to reach out to our team. And then if you want us to send our introduction kit to you, feel free to go to learn more on advisormentorship.com and we can mail that out to you.
And of course, advisors, do yourself a favor. Follow Jeremy's podcast for the latest show. Share with others as well. And thanks for being with us.